themselves. Tariq, I would really want to start with you because I feel that it's a very interesting thing that Aiesec is doing. They're encouraging youth and they're encouraging leadership for the youth, and they're training the younger generation. Please give us an overview and an introduction of yours, of what Aiesec is doing in Lahore particularly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ilya, for giving me this fine introduction. But just to introduce myself once again as well. Hello, my name is Tariq Fawad. I am currently acting as the regional head for Aiesec in Lahore specifically. So as a general idea of what Aiesec does, I'll give you an idea of what Aiesec is before I talk about how I got into Aiesec and how I decided that the initiatives that Aiesec was pushing forward were something that my personal values aligned with as well. Aiesec, as some of you might be aware, is entirely a youth-run organization. So I myself am 22, and the people working around me, people working globally in Aiesec, range from roughly 18 to 27 years old, and not really more than that. And the initiative that we actually focus on is really that change starts young. Change starts from the youth, and you actually build that forward. You want to train the next generation of Pakistan, not the older people. You want to start with the next generation, right? And that's what we actually sort of pitch forward as well, where our initiatives revolve around, again, Aiesec in Lahore specifically is sort of present in all the different universities, schools, colleges, places where, we see the next generation of Pakistan actually taking the next step forward, right? And you want these people to get an idea of all the different things and initiatives that people like, let's say, Sarah and Zulfishan are taking forward as well, because you want to actually educate them on all these things. And so in that regard, Aiesec acts as a mediator of sorts between those organizations, those major companies, and the youth, because we ourselves are the youth, right? So they would rather listen to people that they actually know, their age fellows, rather than people or organizations specifically, like Pepsi coming and telling you to do this, rather than compared to your fellow student telling you to do something, right? So that's the essence of what Aiesec is. And in terms of what we do overall, again, we have various social projects. Since it's an international organization, again, it did sort of come into fruition after World War II ended. Not World War III, that hasn't happened yet, at least. Like, after World War II came to an end, the UN obviously was established, as most of us are aware, but Aiesec was also established in collaboration with the UN, right? And our aim is also to work alongside the UN in terms of projects and initiatives to actually promote that cross-cultural understanding between people overall. And that's why our main sort of form of our product used to be and still is exchange, where we have exchange programs, virtual exchange, physical exchange. All those programs are sort of handled by us as well. And I myself also went on an exchange program. And so I'm sort of going consider that entire idea. And that's kind of where I sort of saw the extent to which in the environment and the way people were interacting with the environment really made a difference as well. But that's the idea of what Aiesec was. And Aiesec came into Pakistan specifically somewhat recently, I would say. Back in 2004 was when Aiesec was first established in Pakistan. And since then, we haven't looked back. We've been moving forward, had various initiatives since. Speaking for Lahore specifically, recently we've been working with WWF on virtual campaigns and to actually promote their culture and to actually we've had various events. We had an event called Beyond Borders. Apart from that, again, like I mentioned, our initiatives have been focused entirely towards SDGs, right? So social empowerment, empowering the youth to actually take part in doing these events, making a difference themselves, right? Change starts from you, that mentality. So we had a vast, there was a self-defense workshop. We're looking to have a Hara Bhara campaign focused entirely towards planting trees. And but before I get into that as well, I wanted to give you an idea of why and how I got into Aiesec myself, and the extent to which I saw the difference that we ourselves could be making. So I myself went on an exchange program to Turkey. It was an Erasmus exchange program, somewhat different. Like, when I went there, I realized that previously, before that, I had worked in societies, organizations on a smaller scale as well, trying to work on, working on the environment, making a difference. We have a tree plantation drive, and I mean, frankly, even as an example of today's conference as well, there's a limited turnout that you get from people. Sarah also briefly mentioned how people don't entirely turn up for events focused entirely towards just like, oh, we're planting trees now, or we're looking at rescuing animals and such, right? People don't really turn up for that. You kind of have to make the entire program a bit more attractive for them. So when I went on an exchange to Turkey, there was an entire organization. I forgot the name because it was in Turkish, but I have to give them credits as well. I can give them credits. I can actually send their link possibly afterwards later in the chat. Like the way they were working around it was that they were organizing a form of field trip. Okay, it was an interesting get-together event. Okay, they were pitching it like a get-together event where you'd also get to actually work on planting trees and helping people and all that stuff, right? So that's the idea which I loved and actually took forward as well, and which is what we're actually looking to sort of act out in the future as well. But and that's kind of what we're incorporating into our practices now, where we essentially try to make events. Again, we're trying to get youth as much involved as possible. So we make an interesting event like a scavenger hunt of sorts. Okay, ये event आ रहा है, मजा आएगा बहुत, खेलेंगे हम सब कुछ करेंगे. And while doing that, you bring experienced professionals on board where they can actually get impart that knowledge sort of inherently as well, sort of subliminally that knowledge impart kar le, so they have an idea as well what's happening in the world and how they can make a difference. And when they're enjoying things, they want to take part in this. They actually also enjoy the initiative as well. That's kind of what we're taking forward. I believe that acts as a form of an introduction.
Thank you. Next, I would go to Sarah, please, if you could try to give us an introduction, and then we move to Zofisha. Thank you.
Okay. Hey. Yeah, so I just want to know that, first of all, Tariq, I mean, I was really impressed with all that you had to say. And I totally agree that, the youth is the future, because I think we've sort of, in our late 30s, I think we've sort of played our innings and we're still contributing, but it's the youth that has to really, take it forward. And sorry, that's my cute cat. He's always in the way. So yeah, and I really appreciate the fact that you are so young, and at this very young tender age you're picked up this whole thing and you're taking it forward. And I think it's only important for people like us who've had some experience to be there for you, to support you completely. And I do really like the idea of this scavenger hunts and all of that. And because you don't want to bore people to death, and you want to just involve them. So you you have to make it interesting. So that's what I try to do. I try to make funny videos, and not only sad, depressive videos of all the animals that we are rescuing. And you want to show the positive side of it. And Alia will agree with me when I say that mostly when we just end up showing misery and all of that, and how no one is really looking after the animals, or the youth is all screwed up and whatever. But you have to look at the positive side of it. And I feel and I believe that in the last few years, I think it's been really great that the youth is interacting with different people. You guys are taking the initiative, you're taking the lead, and a lot of rescues and stuff that's happening here in Pakistan and abroad is usually the youth. And like Zofisha is somebody that I really like, and I've worked with her. She did a first protest with us on the Liberty Roundabout, and we were all there in full force and supporting her. And her dog Kiki was murdered by the societies and everything, and Kiki was just one of the cases that suffered. And just like that, I had a dog Rumi, and I'd kept him, and he was murdered in cold blood right outside my gate, with two headshots to his head. And it was really depressing and sad. And you just want to make a change and a difference. But how do we do that? Because if you try educating the people around you, so I agree with Tariq when he said that you have to begin at home. So change starts at home. So you start changing yourself, and then you change the people around in you circle, and then you take it forward, and then you create the awareness. But youth is the target market, because these guys have the ability to convince their parents. They're already doing a lot of different things, and convincing their parents. And at 22 he's like, I want to do this, and do exchange programs and all. So you see, when you were doing all that, you're probably able to also convince your parents and elders around you. And the organizations and the universities that you work with and the exchange students that you work with. So, you're kind of taking your word and your work to the next level. And I think that that's great. And also, I would like to add one thing, because I've already talked before this, and I think Zofisha should also get a chance. Everybody should equal, opportunity. But I do kind of feel that, we need to unite on this point that there should be educational, sort of awareness in schools, because that's where we need to maybe, go to the children, reach out to them, to the institutions, and tell them that, okay, let's train the children. How they're doing different workshops and classes for Halloween and, like Christmas or Eid and other things. So how about if we teach them to be humane towards animals? And I have done that. I've done a few seminars with at the Governor House and at Kinnaird and different institutions, but it's not enough. One or say 10 are not enough. So maybe there should be like a monthly thing that, sometimes Tariq can go and can, motivate the youth, or sometimes Elia can go and, motivate the youth to, go vegan maybe, or, do those things. And so many other people. And also, like, I've been trying to get all my celebrity friends to be, pro animal rights and pro, being vegetarian, and, trying to use their influence, because they connect with the masses. And say, for example, if Shah Rukh Khan is doing something, so people are going to be influenced, or Humayun Saeed is going to be, he's going to be doing something, so people will be influenced. So, and I constantly try to convince them to also adopt animals, and, like say, okay, I'm going to say no to milk. And I've practically forced half of my friends to adopt cats and dogs that they did not want to have. And one of my friends adopted one of my dogs that I'd rescue, and he keeps pooping on his dad's mark, and, every day I get shit for it. But, ultimately they all, warmed up to him, and now he's happy. And, so that's something that motivates me. While we're talking about stray animals, I also like to add that, I've been working for wildlife as well, and environmental, rights and climate change. And so why diversify? Because you see, like when the elephant in the zoo was there, and, Akavan was like a sweetheart, and Dr. Amir Khalil and his Four Paws team was here. They were here, and, it was about his freedom. So it was important that someone like me should step out of my comfort zone and just go there and, support the whole cause and be a part of that freedom movement and relocating. And then, so on and so forth, the bears, and then so much more that's happening. So I feel that, the initiative that you guys have taken is amazing, because it puts a lot of different people from, we kind of all have the same motive or the same, dreams that we want to, see a better, more, maybe a sympathetic world and compassionate world. And we're all trying to do our best. And so I think I'm going to end here.
Thank you, Farah. Before I go back to Fawad, I would want Zulfishar, I would thank her because she was here last year as well. And thank you for joining us again. And please introduce your work so that we can move forward with the next part. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, guys. How are you? Sara and Tarek and Alia. It's lovely listening to you guys. मैं बड़े ध्यान से शौक से सुन रही थी. I'm a little ill today, so excuse my coughing and sneezing, but I'm right here, and I'm really glad that I'm part of this amazing conversation and conference and this meeting. So I think we all know that it started with Kiki, like Sara said. And I cannot, forget the amount of support I got from this entire community when I stood up on the, that road for, rights for my dog. And I realized, the support was enough to get me going, but I realized that, there's a lot that needs to be done. And I can't just stop here right there with Kiki. And even though Kiki left, but I think it gave me a mission in life. It gave me something to move on to fight something, and to do so much for the animals that die and they're culled for, every day. So in just that, I think JFK in a very little time has progressed, because I've put my heart and soul into this. And जहाँ पर 8 से 9 साल लगते थे, I created this system in just 1 year. And today we're doing, trap and neuter vaccinations, and that is all without the government support. I have to be very clear and open about it, because ये बात हमारे लिए जानना इसलिए जरूरी है, because अगर वो हमारा साथ दें, just imagine what else can we do if we're doing this without all the support from them, on our own, with public support and public help and the supporters and everything. So I think there's a lot that we can do. We currently have over 200 animals that are permanent residents at the shelter. And right now, because I have a bigger facility now, we luckily got a very big chunk of land recently after we were kicked out from the previous land. So अच्छा ही हो गया, हमें ज़्यादा बड़ी जगह मिल गई. What I'm planning to do is, like Tariq said, like Sara said, youth is very important, and their involvement is very important at the shelter, for volunteering, for work, for whatever. So what I'm trying to do right now, in fact, I've been busy enough the social media because I've been working on it. I'm turning the current, place, my shelter, into an educational place. So, I'm setting up these small libraries. I'm setting up small places where kids can come, and they should not only see the agony, okay, they should see the pain of animals. So, they know where, the relationship of pain, love, and these feelings are all, in each and every living being. But what I'm doing is I'm going to, encourage them and provide them with something that they can come up, they can learn and enjoy at the same time. So it's going to be a safari kind of a shelter now, which I've been working on, and I haven't posted about it yet, but I will be posting about it. And there are many schools and NGOs that are, willing to come and, bring the school for trips, everything. So I think it's going to be a very exciting thing. And I think Tariq, Sara, and we all can work towards this, and, maybe create some events. We can even put up concerts over there. There's so much we can do. And the very interesting part that I've been working on quietly is that we have a fashion show coming on in December. So all of our rescues are going to walk in a public place on a ramp walk, and they're going to be in a very trendy, Western wear. And I think it's going to be really cool. And the reason I chose these animals rather than models was कि इनको माशरे में एक अहमियत मिले, एक एक्सेप्टेंस मिले. खाली ट्रैप न्यूटर करके, नसबंदी करके, उनको रेबीज का टीका लगा के जिंदगी यहाँ ओवर नहीं होती. That is not like even the basic needs of those animals. They need love, they need acceptance, they need their rights, they need food, they need us. Dogs and cats, जो स्पेशली डॉग्स होते हैं, उनको हमारी जरूरत होती है. वो इमोशनल और जो हर तरह की सपोर्ट हम उनको दें वो कम है. तो मैं माशरे में इनको एक मकाम देने के लिए मेरा इस वक्त ये मोटो और गोल है कि इनको लोग प्यार की नजर से देखें. जो उनको गुस्से और नफरत की नजर से देखते हैं, मुझे वो नजरें खत्म करनी है. दैट्स व्हाट आई एम वर्किंग टुवर्ड्स. और आई थिंक हम सारे मिल के यूथ को इन्वॉल्व करके इवेंट्स रख के टुगेदर इन अ वेरी फ्रेंडली एनवायरनमेंट वी कैन डू सो मच. And I'm positive that we'll be doing all this. And then again, thank you for having me over. And Alia, you can get back to the next question now.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought this up, because that was one of the highlights of the discussion today, that how would we work together and how can youth in future maybe collaborate and take this movement forward towards building a more empathetic world. And you all play a very important role. Like I really appreciate especially Sara's involvement with the Punjab government, for example, at the policy making level, which is very vital. Tariq, who is working literally with the youth, which might seem right at the bottom, but it's a grassroots level that needs to be educated. And then you have Zulfi Shah, who's working on the ground. right there with the rescues. And of course, Sarah is also overlapping into both of those, but like I'm just highlighting my understanding. So I think it's a very beautiful panel, and that's coming together. So I would want to go towards our next step. You all worked on certain projects that were life-changing, that gave you problems, that gave you roadblocks. And what were those roadblocks that you faced and how you overcame them? Tariq, if you want to start with that, please.
So as for initiatives that we've had in the past as well, yes, there are various sort of concerns that do pop up as a result of just the fact that you आप initiative लेके जा रहे हो, unless it's something, because the thing is that if I look at animal rights specifically, by focusing towards animal shelters, things of that nature, quite frankly, in our society, currently, it's not a priority. It's not at all a priority, right? We want to focus towards something, let's say water sanitation, planting trees is still more easier to do or easier to collaborate with the government on. So rather than sort of events focused towards, taking care of our animals, taking care of, again, very quickly, like Sarah briefly mentioned as well, how she mentioned that separate argument entirely. Like she mentioned how, I'm trying to like cut out on milk specifically. So it's like things like these, which I've realized are very small steps individually. They seem very small as an individual. But when you actually, I think the concern is that no one realizes that everyone else would probably also be sort of working on that as well. It's like a community that you need to build over time. And so if you try to educate people on how you as an individual doing something on your own can also make a difference, it'll actually promote people individually as well to actually take part in this. Acha, you know what? Khali main bhi karu to fark pad sakta hai. Things like those really definitely help. But coming back towards the argument I was initially trying to get towards was that for animal rights specifically, I've realized that the major concern that pops up, very recently we were trying to have an event with TODS. It's also a foundation focused towards animal welfare. And yes, उसमें interaction लोगों से आ रहा था, लेकिन government interaction नहीं आता. ठीक है, अब there's another separate sort of event called Hara Bhara campaign where we're trying to partner with the PHA, ठीक है, Pakistan Horticulture Association. It's a little different. That has been easier to conduct rather than a session trying to focus on the government body, trying to interact with the animal welfare. Okay? And I've realized, quite frankly, the solution to that, or not a very good solution, but the solution that has worked, okay, is having warm contacts in the government. Okay? Having people you talk to them about this, and they end up actually talking to people of authority, because they're not going to listen to an organization or even like a youth organization. Perhaps you guys have different experiences, obviously. Lekin, what I realized is that when warm contacts are actually at play as well, that's when you see them actually taking an interest or taking you seriously, at least. Catch a TK, they're trying to work on something. Maybe we can incorporate ourselves with them. So one major drawback or sort of obstacle that we've realized is that government partnerships or working with the government itself has been difficult. And the way to work around that of sorts is kind of with warm contacts. TK. Secondly, I mentioned very briefly previously as well, was getting people involved. So interaction, engagement with people, right? Virtual pay though, it's very difficult. Okay? You have to develop an entire program. We had a Beyond Borders program where we initially partnered up with TCF and the Hope Foundation. We collected over 3 lakh in donations and 2,000 clothing pieces. Okay? And that happened entirely because we had to drive an entire program built specifically on educating people about not just how they can actually make a difference in the world, but of imparting knowledge based on finances, their personal finances, personal welfare, things like designing skills, very generic sort of a workshop, essential skills workshop, if you will, right? So they got interacted into that, and then we actually incorporated different initiatives to sort of, engage them in the community, we engage them with the entire campaign, and then we actually tell them more about other things that are happening as well. So that did work. Like for physical events as well, let's say we had a self-defense workshop, it was Vasil. People don't really show up unless, like I mentioned as well, you get them to translate an idea, okay, something very interesting is happening, something where they can actually get something out of it, not just in terms of, oh, I made a difference in society, but in terms of, oh, this is a fun event. It should be something where they can actually record on their social media. You also want that as well. You want they have enough things that they can do a scavenger hunt of sorts, which is planned going forward as well. With the idea, they'll have clothing pieces that they'll actually have to work on designing, and then like that would be a way to sort of market the fact that this was something that they worked on. So it's things like these where you can actually, where people can come in, and remember something from it, and actually remember the engagement, or sort of create the community or create an event of sorts where they can actually remember or focus on the sort of fun element of things they had while working on making the world a better place. That's the workaround in terms of getting people more involved. Recently, one of our Aiesec partners as well, Johnny and Jugnu, actually had a campaign very similar where they used their social media marketing to actually get people more and more involved with a campaign, very simple, very generic, giving a bath wash to dogs and other animals as well, but Todd's. And I realized that worked really well, because although the actual initiative was very simple, but it got people involved, interested in what the idea was in Todd's, what Todd's does. They give a mini session as well over there. So people got more interested. And because it was JJ, and the way they were marketing, it was very sort of, it was focused entirely towards the youth. It worked well. People know about JJ. They wore often. They trust it's a reliable brand in that regard. So they trusted it. So they actually went there as well. So I realized the workaround in terms of getting the youth or people overall more engaged with initiatives like this is to actually make it focus more towards a fun sort of get together and meeting of sorts, rather than just कि आपने यहाँ आके हमें काम करने आ रहे हैं, ठीक है? So that's the kind of thing that I've realized going forward. I love to actually get to hear as well with more experienced personalities here, what struggles they would face and how maybe we can work together on possibly resolving them.
Please, Sarah, if you could take the lead on the next one, about what roadblocks you faced and how you overcame them.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Yes, so it's the same question that was towards Tariq. It was what problems you faced during one of your projects and how you overcame them, so that we can learn.
Yeah. Okay. So the biggest thing is that the problem that I faced a lot was that, a lot of people want you to rescue. They want you to do things, even though I don't have a shelter yet. So that's why I tie up with my fellow rescuers like JFK if I need some help or assistance. I think that the first and foremost name that comes to my mind is JFK, of course, because she's always there and she always replies and responds. And but the thing is that my problem with people is that everyone wants to see a change. Everybody wants things to get better, but no one's really willing to get their hands dirty, right? So it's not that big a problem. I have a Rottweiler and I've adopted 2 street dogs who ultimately, were in a shelter. We rescued them, we put them in a shelter, they went to another shelter. And then ultimately I was like, this is not the life that I want for them, to be locked up in cages. And so I wanted to make a difference. And I said, okay, fine. If nobody will take them, I'll take them. I know it's a lot of work, and thanks to my amazing family who are very cooperative, and you can't really do that without support. So but the thing is that I keep asking all my friends that you guys feel bad about it, but what are you really doing to help these animals? So this is something that I request all my friends to make their children, when they want a pug, how about Indus Hound, like our local dogs. Those puppies are as cute. They're very active. They're inclined to be really good in our country, because you see they're local born dogs. So they're very easy to keep, and they're very loyal. They're very active, attentive, and they make amazing guard dogs. So I keep telling my friends that you guys have big farmhouses. Instead of keeping your German Shepherds or Alsatians and like other dogs, why don't you just keep your local dogs? Also, at the government level, I have suggested, and Zofisha was there as well. Maybe you were right when I suggested to the government, not on one occasion, but 3-4 occasions, that instead of keeping Labradors as guard dogs for different, like for example at PC, when you enter there, those dogs who sniff things. Instead of keeping those labs, they feel hot quicker and they get tired more quickly. So instead of keeping those dogs, why don't we take our dogs? Like Zofisha also said that, that's not the life that she wants for them. So make them work. They're smart dogs. So, you just take those dogs, you train them, And, they could do exactly the same work that the Labradors are doing, or the other watchdogs or guard dogs, or, those dogs that are doing all that work. Okay. So that was one of the problem that, that when I reached out to people to adopt them or, help them, they were not willing to spend enough. And they'd all be like, oh, we've spent for the month. We're kind of, stuck, and sorry, my in-laws wouldn't allow it. My husband wouldn't allow it. My parents won't allow it. And I just feel that those are excuses. I mean, you really want to do something, you get out there and get your hands dirty, and you just, make it work. Also, it's again, the problem is that when you talk at the government level as well, they are just actually looking at this as a problem, and they're like, oh, the citizens are getting disturbed and they're getting bitten by these dogs and the cats, and they're spreading disease and everything. So, we try to kind of educate them as well, that they're not only spreading the diseases, the people also are spreading disease. Dogs don't litter, humans do, we do. And our educated class, if you just go on the road, you'll see that it's so common for people, especially in Pakistan, to just throw their litter outside of the cars. Keep your car clean, but keep the road dirty. So if we're just talking about that, education, and so if educated people are going to act like that, so how can you expect the lower masses to come out and support the animals, or support no garbage, and maybe go vegan or vegetarian and etc. So my biggest concern and the biggest problem I've faced so far is that it's just people don't keep an open mind, and they are not willing to step out there and let the youth do the thing, because even the youth is trying to bring a change. But a lot of young kids say that we want to help people and animals, but the only problem is our parents don't listen. So please listen to your listen to your children. And I think when we have young people, young ambassadors involved, they can connect better with youth, and maybe be able to convince them. So this is always very, very important to have them on board. And again, if we work collectively in collaboration, so it helps everyone. And so one of the reasons why I formed Saya Animal Welfare was because here I was doing a lot of work, but a lot of people used to tell me that you're not registered, and you need to be registered to do a lot of more work, and etc. So I said, okay, fine, if that's what it takes, then let's go and do this. And I did that like 2-3 years back. We've been working under the banner, and so I figured that since there are a few shelters and they are working and they're doing a good job, they can't save all the dogs. And yes, there are sometimes that the shelters or their teams cannot rescue each and every dog, and sometimes the dogs die or the cats die, and then people get upset that we paid them and this didn't happen and blah blah blah. So I figured that instead of opening another shelter and making your own 1.5 inch ki masjid, so how about if we start a clinic which gives 50% to 60% free treatment to all the rescue animals. That will empower the youth, the students, or the kids who want to save that dog, but parents are not giving them the money. So they know that if they pick up a kitten off the road and they might not have the money to support or to get it treated, so they can bring it to Saya Clinic, and we will treat it for free. And so I believe, like I said again and again, I keep repeating, because this is very important that we all join hands. So I mean, I'm currently I'm sponsoring a lot of independent rescuers who are willing to put in the hard work and the time and the effort, but they necessarily don't have the finances to do that. So what I do is that I kind of step in and I say, okay, let's make it work, make it a joint effort. You rescue the dog or the cat, and we will fund the food and the medication. So again, and to help empower the shelters as well. The good thing was that Saya Animal Welfare Clinic, which came into being and is launching very soon, thanks to CDRS. Todd Chase, somebody who's been working in Pakistan for over 15 years, and he was working with human rights and human welfare. And then and he was, while doing that, he was supporting smaller shelters and independent rescuers on a smaller scale. But now they've stepped right in, and they've started the first Pakistani TNVR facility in Islamabad. But again, so I said to him that how about if we in Lahore we start a clinic where the clinic can help empower independent rescuers and the shelters. And because a lot of shelters, and Sophie Sham will agree with me that now she has a panel of doctors that are there, but a lot of people actually face this problem that their vet bills are so big, they go into lakhs, and and everything is, and I can't blame the doctors, because there's inflation internationally and globally. But I still believe that if we were funded properly, and we had good sponsors from corporate sectors and all, so we could still, and I mean, again, thanks to CDRS, that we were able to start our clinic. And so we need more people like that, and if we help them and others, so you get to save more animals. And when you're saving animals, sometimes you end up saving humans as well, because when people are not there for each other, your animals are, and they kind of help you out. And I know this from a personal experience, and it's a scientific fact that when you're down or you're happy, the animals around you, they pick up on your mood. And this is something we need to educate people with, that if you're down, if you're sad, you need a friend, you need to have a guard dog or a loyal person, or a loyal family member and fur member. So give the animals a chance, and perfect. So yeah, I think that's about it from my side.
Thank you, Sarah. Zulfishan, I would like to hear from you, since you have, we all follow you. So we know you faced a lot of problems and you try to overcome them. So please share one of your experiences, how you managed to overcome.
Okay, so when you just asked this question, there was so much coming into my mind, but I'm just going to pick one of the issues, and I'm going to talk about it. So I'll also say that the thing about JFK is that every time there has been a problem, I think we come back even stronger, and I always overcome things, and things have been going smooth. But the thing, I think the most biggest issue that I faced, and I think it was difficult for me as a shelter and as a activist and a field worker, was my struggle with pet markets. It has been the most difficult thing to do for me, because markets like Tollinton and everything, initially I was going there and rescuing animals. I paid hell loads of money. Many people sponsored buying them off, but I realized that's not a solution. I started getting them treated and everything, but I was indirectly funding them for their cruelty, and I did not want to do that. So later on, it was a constant struggle, just like Tariq said, how difficult it is to talk to and convince the government sectors when it comes to animals, especially street animals and the pet markets that are long time forgotten and neglected, and there have been a hub of abuse. So what I did was I started going to these government officers, and I started bringing them over, and they were not listening to me. I held the biggest protest in, I think, Punjab when it came to ban Tollinton Market. And in return, they became my enemies. And it was so much worse, because while I was going to, feed the animals and clean the markets, they even stopped letting me in. And I realized that I screwed over. But I was actually trying to, do something about it. And I thought maybe the government would actually, ban this market, and we would, put an end. I was in touch with PETA India, and they had been guiding me about it, and they said that you should hold these protests and talk to your government, and many officers showed up at the protest. So sorry. So they showed up at the protest and they promised us many things, but none of them came into action. Nothing happened. It was just for the media coverage and everything. So later I had a friend in, government sector, and obviously, that is how you get help. That is how Pakistan is. You can't just go to unknown people and, request them help. They would never help you. So she took me to the DC office and I presented a proposal. Okay, fine, don't shut the market down. Let me, work and provide medical facilities inside the spot, inside the markets, and I'm willing to start the medical camps and everything. So that was when I finally got the permission, and I've held many camps over there consecutively, all free of cost. And I, treated hundreds of animals from there. And we were relocating and everything, so we had to pause, but we'll be resuming the Tollinton medical camps. And that's when Tarek and, Sarah and you all can, collab. And, I'll need a lot of students, a lot of volunteers to go with me, because we have to properly form a squad for Tollinton. Not only Tollinton, there are many pet markets in Lahore right now that are, the hub of abuse. So, fighting for those animals that are in captivity, not even them, the wild animals, if we talk about. I have been in thick and hot waters because of the, my stance against, captivity, animals in captivity, lion cub case, lion cub issues, the zoos and everything. So I think fighting for them is the most difficult thing that I can think of, because I have literally faced threats, whatnot, and it became really ugly for the shelter and me. But I think this is what we have to do. It's a long struggle, but I am glad, I'm really happy that at least we're all talking about it today. It seems like a success as well. And whatever we can do, at least we do that from our platforms, personally and publicly. So I think it's a long way to go, but we should never give up, and always, support each other, be there for each other as activists and everything, because हमारा मकसद एक है, और जब हमारा मकसद एक है तो nothing else should matter. अपने differences हटा के, सब चीजें हटा के, think we should be working collaboratively and मिलके हम सब काम करें. Tollinton में हो, TNVR में हो, and what Sarah is doing regarding the clinic, I totally agree. It's a very good thing, because a lot of rescuers, I also help them with free treatments, but चलो एक platform उनको मिल जाएगा from where they can help with the medical. क्योंकि हमारा तो अल्लाह के फजल से we have our own beds and own clinic. अगर वो ना होता तो we would have been screwed over also. So we only go for major surgeries outside. Otherwise, it's all at the campus, all at the shelter. So good luck to Sarah as well. And I'm really looking forward कि कुछ अच्छा हमारी इस meeting के बाद भी नतीजा निकल आए. Really glad about all this.
Thank you. We have a few questions from our listeners. So one of them is from Soha Tanvir. She says, "Hi guys, I'm an animal rescuer from Karachi and I admire your efforts so much. I would really like to know how you create a team of safe and reliable vets for TNR programs in Lahore, and how can animal rescuers gather funding for TNR programs?" आप में से कौन इस पे लीड लेना चाहेगा? Okay, Sarah can. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Soha. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. That's a really good question, and I'm sure that the others will like to take it as well, but I'll be quick about it. Raising the funds is the biggest and the most difficult thing, because again, people might want to spend a lot on their clothes and their food and their hair, but they don't want to spend on animals because they kind of feel that they're not that important. But while there are some people like that, there are still some good people who are actually willing to donate. So if you want to raise funds, I think the best way to do is that I've seen some independent
young rescuers who have done a cycling gala, or they have kept baking sales and something. So if I'm always there for you guys, and there are a lot of celeb people in Karachi who are very supportive of the animal rights. Tipu is one of the leading people from Karachi who are doing the rescues and everything, and he's very supportive. He's a very good friend of mine, and every time I've reached out to him in Karachi and said, listen, this young rescuer needs help, can you please guide him or her? So the basic thing is connectivity. You just need to connect people. Also, you could consider making a 100 rupee booklet, which could be for raising funds, and you just tell all your friends to buy a ticket from you, and that would be sponsor a dog or sponsor a cat or feed a stray, or it's cold, you can buy mattresses, and you can just think of something nice and fun, and then ask your friends. I'm sure 100 rupees is just something that we can all afford, and I feel that I find it very productive, and it actually works. And this is what we are also planning to do. You remember when I don't know if you would remember, when I was in school and Imran's Tigers was like the in thing. Imran Khan was raising funds for Shaukat Khanum. So this kind of really worked because we were in school, and their reps came to school and they said, so these are tickets, booklets that you just sell to your family or your friends, and that kind of worked. I ended up selling 5 of those. I got one of my uncles to buy the whole bouquet, and then my dad's friends and my family, and I said, listen, I'm a cute little kid, you better listen to me, and I want that t-shirt from Imran Khan. So I still think that, okay, we don't have Imran Khan right now, and I'm a little upset with him because we've been tweeting, we've been tagging Khan Saab as the prime minister, because he said that we want to make Pakistan a Riyasat-e-Madina, and yet the killings of they're at the peak. In the last 3 years they've killed more dogs than they have killed in a decade, maybe even in 2 decades. So well, that's another topic. But coming back to raising funds point, so this is something that you can do. You can maybe ask your parents or your friends to raise some funds for you, and then you can just get a few booklets printed, and maybe tell your neighbors or your friends to give 100 rupees or 500. I'm sure that even people who are working in our houses, like domestic help, even they can pay 100 rupees. So that's something that you could do. And we my dream is to see Turkey, Pakistan like Turkey, so where we all have dogs and cats and we feed them, and they're at the cafes and they're at the malls, and we're giving food to them, and we place free food for them on the streets and water. It is not that difficult. It is still achievable, but we just need to put our minds to it, and we are already on that track. Zofisha and me and Tariq and so many of you guys who are actually doing your bit in your capacity to work as independent rescuers. And Elia, of course, I remember she sent me a picture and a message on Eid and said, listen, they're doing this to the animals. What are you going to do about it? So, so I think the trend is catching on, and everyone's now started getting interested. People used to think that animals weren't that important, especially the street animals. But now I see a change, and that's a positive thing. And like I said, we need to be positive. We can't just be negative about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have one more question that is from Yashi from India. And she says, great job, everyone. Such a wonderful session. You guys shared some brilliant ideas and motivation. So my question is for Sarah. Could you share your experience with wildlife conservation? As you mentioned, I read about the Habura busted in the news and they are endangered. Could you share about the conservation of wildlife animals from your own experience?
Yeah, first of all, salam, namaste, and welcome on board. Yeah, I have a lot of friends in India, and I've traveled to India extensively. And right now, I'm connected to a lot of rescuers and shelters in India. And, I love it when they support us and we support them. Yeah, so as far as the wildlife thing is concerned, so you know what, I have actually just filed a petition in the High Court to first of all, you're talking about that animal, but there are other animals, wildlife that's at higher risk. For example, the lions, the wildcats. They are being kept as pets, and their canines removed and their claws, they're declawed. And I often see now at vet clinics, where they're just cubs and they're sick and they need treatment, and you hear them, and where are they kept? It's at a private farmhouse. Like, it's not a tiger, it's not a lion, it's not a cheetah, it's a bloody, maybe a dog. But although I personally feel that dogs and all animals have equal rights, but when it comes to wildlife, that is something that really, really entirely belongs in the wild. And when you keep them in captivity and you breed them at farms, that becomes a big, big problem, because you see, you're giving the trend, and you're bringing the trend, and you're teaching your young that it's okay to snatch babies from their mothers, and to keep them chained, and take them to your gyms and on car rides, and it's become more of a status symbol than anything else. Again, a lot of wildlife that's going extinct in Pakistan, and even in India and other countries. So you can't really, you can just raise your voice and do something about it, but the right way to go about it is to definitely go to the High Court. And we filed a petition for wildlife rights, and that will include all bears and goats, and like the deer and different kinds, and wildcats and everything. And we've our petition has been accepted, and we are going to take it forward. And we are also complaining against the private the breeding farms and everything that are doing all of these things. And also, one of the biggest things that it's come to Pakistan now is the alligator farming for bags and for their skins. And this was a shock for me to find out that close to Islamabad, there are a lot of areas which people don't actually have a lot of access to, and they have alligator farms there. And they're so whatever is being banned from the West is now coming to our countries, to Asia, and they're expecting us to do their dirty work. And it's the sad part is that we do end up doing their dirty work. And for example, bunnies fur and all. So how to stop this is to join us. I mean, we filed a petition, and we're going to inshallah follow it through and bring it to the government level. And as Elia said, that we have been working with Punjab government, and we're trying to highlight the cause of not only street dogs and their rights and cats, but also the wildlife rights, and how the laws should be so strict that if we, and also I've suggested a lot of times on the number of platforms that we should make a citizen's arrest as well. If we see people selling birds, or if they're abusing monkeys or goats or dogs or cats or animals, we should have the right to actually report them or make a citizen's arrest, as I would love to do that because I have done that to a lot of people. And like Zofi Shah said, that we've made up a lot of enemies as well, but I don't really care, because I feel that we're on the right path and we are moving forward. And if India and Pakistan collaborate, we join hands, it's again an amazing thing, because you see, we're reaching out to more people. And I also feel that the Indian people in general are very warm and welcoming, and they also love animals. And also because of their religious aspect, a lot of animals are very holy for them and sacred for them. So like elephants and all. So I mean, my only thing is that as much as we can take it forward, we should, and raise our voices. And if you're in India, you should definitely try to get in touch and file a petition for animal rights. We are trying to do that here. And yes, a lot of times wildlife is at risk, and they're reporting in the news. So that's also a positive thing, because years back or decades back, nobody would even care if any of the wildlife was being abused or poached, or they were being hunted or sold for trophy hunting, etc. So I still believe that it's a positive step for us. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for answering that. She agrees with you. So she's exactly, our entire region is filled with some beautiful animal species. And she also says, I already have zillions of ideas I would love to share with you. Can I connect with you over Instagram? Yes,
Yes,
please.
I would love that.
I will be sharing all our speakers' email IDs and Instagram handles. You can always reach out to them. Is one person who commented, Dr. Ali Zaib, said, great job, everyone. I totally agree with the fact that in order to change public's attitude towards animals, education is a must, and kids must be taught to love strays. They must be taught kindness towards other creatures and animals. General misconception of a stray dog is a rabid dog needs to, and I'm sure you guys are already working on that. Lots of power to you. Like I said in the beginning, I always try to focus on this saying that, environmental rights are human rights, animal rights are human rights. So the thing is that when we understand that all of the world is connected, all ecology is connected, we plant a tree, something that Tariq is doing, sorry. So we plant a tree, we're also giving a home to birds, which we're helping animals. If we're saving a life in that way as well. So I would really want 3 of your organizations to connect in future, and I've already exchanged your email IDs on your emails, and you can always reach out to me for your WhatsApp numbers. And I would be closing the session with this. Thank you so much for being part of this panel. I think it was very, very insightful for everyone. The Animal Alliance Asia, and on behalf of the team, I'm really thankful for your time. For general public, we have an academy coming up in June 2022, which is an educational academy specially designed for activists, and anyone can participate in that. You can donate what you want, and it's free if someone cannot pay. Otherwise, sorry, yes, please.
Yeah, sorry, Elia, I would quickly like to add that, the question that we had from India for the wildlife, I just remembered that last night I got a really fantastic news from a fellow friend and activist who is a wildlife photographer who's working closely with Four Paws International and has been working in Malaysia and doing a lot of work. And he is doing a fantastic job, promoting the wildlife of Pakistan. And he actually asked me to be on board with them. They're launching a very big, organization that will have rescuers and activists and, people who are, caring about wildlife and, all of that. And I'm going to be a part of that. And definitely I'll love to bring a lot of more people from this group on board once I'm on there. And that is something that's again going to help the wildlife be more secure and protected in future. So I can't disclose more than that, but just to let her know and let you all know that we are trying to do our best. And inshallah we will see a day when we will be like Turkey, and Tariq will be leading the youth, and JFK's Ofisha will be doing her great work with the youth. And hopefully I'll be like sitting up there and doing all the dawahs for everybody, and just being happy that we're helping the voiceless. And Elia, again, the vegan group, you guys are so amazing, because I haven't been able to go vegan yet, but you guys are so motivating every day. When I wake up, even when I was really sick, that's why I had to leave a couple of times in between because I had a bad coughing spasm. Like Zofisha, I've just been very sick for the past 10 days. But just to keep it short, because I can talk for hours about animals and all of this. So the vegan group is doing a great job, and I believe that we educate each other, we share our awareness, and we motivate each other, and and that's just so positive. And yeah, but that's all I would like to add.
Thank you so much, everyone. I've also copy pasted everyone's contact IDs. I've shared a link to our academy that will take place next year, where you can join different kinds of workshops. The academy will be conducted in Urdu for Pakistan. So that would be specifically designed for the region. And I would love if different organizations and people could join so they can learn more skills from each other in the region. So ending comments, Tariq, Zulfishan, if you want to add something, please do.
I would just quickly like to add that I think some of the things, like you just quick right now mentioned as well, having a program there available in Urdu, I think is a very important thing as well, because I think हमें मुआशरे और demographic के हिसाब से जाना भी चाहिए, because a lot of people, again, I think the target market in that context possibly isn't always people who are going to private universities, or the people who possibly are educated or able to speak or converse in English. Because when you get that exposure, you get the idea, you get a better understanding as well, कि अच्छा यार, what are things I should and should not be doing. Lekin there are people, and again, they actually have a program called World's Largest Lesson. We'll be going to, again, that's actually a program where, again, we mentioned I'd love to actually collaborate with you guys as well. And if you guys are interested, we could work possibly together on initiatives where I can have the youth come on board as well, from people from Lahore specifically on initiatives, right? Like if a World's Largest Lesson as well, we go to underprivileged schools and we actually educate them on the UN's SDGs and how they themselves, yes, at this space, yes, you're 19 or let's say 12, 13, TK, you don't have a lot of experience, you don't know what you're doing in life, like you yourself individually are still capable and can make a difference. We want to empower them as well. So I think the fact that it's available in Urdu is brilliant. We can actually have everyone in Pakistan, or most people at least in Pakistan, take part in that. Like, I think it's been a very productive conversation. I myself have learned quite a bit from, again, the very experienced personalities, Zulfishan and Sarah, currently with us. Thank you for the opportunity. I would love to work together on initiatives. The Tollinton one that you mentioned, Zulfishan, I'd love to actually see if we can possibly come to an agreement. Maybe I can have more HR in that regard, people come from our side and actually help volunteer and actually, take that thing forward as well. So I love that, actually.
Thank you. So Fishan, any closing comments before we close the floor?
So it's difficult, unmuting it. Anyway, हाँ तारिक for sure मैं आपको बताऊंगी. We'll stay in touch and ये हम पूरा एक program conduct करेंगे. You can go with us for the medical camps. I think it would be a great thing to do together. And obviously Sarah can also, join us, and we can do many good things together. And I'm very positive about all this. और inshallah हम लोग WhatsApp के ऊपर we'll all get in touch about this. In fact, we can create a small group of our own जिसके अंदर हम बात कर सकें, ठीक है ना? So I think that's what we should be doing. And lovely talking to you all. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice night, everyone. And thank you for taking out your weekend.